Welcome to What Was Mommy Thinking? My name is Crystal and I'm so glad that you're here. If you are new, please consider hitting that subscribe button right now and hit that bell notification so you don't miss out on any of the fun. Today is my Set Yourself Up for Success video where I do a bunch of meal prep and things that help my week be a little less stressful so that I feel a little more successful at the end, because as a full-time working mom, it is crazy sometimes. We've got a lot of dietary restrictions in our household that make it a little bit more challenging, but very worthwhile. I decided to give you guys a different angle today. I got a tripod and set my Canon up on it, and this is my entire kitchen. And what you see me doing is making some decaffeinated sweet tea for my family. I make 2 gallons every week. And then I'm going to get moving with refilling my coffee canister over there. And then I'm going to start getting the dash set up so that I can boil my eggs. On the stove, I've got some water going to make my steel cut oats for the week. And this is something that when I was talking to you guys about combining things that you could do simultaneously, this was exactly what I was talking about. Additionally, I've also got to get dinner in that crock pot shortly. So here's a little angle switch yet again. You guys saw me setting that camera up. I decided to go ahead and make some mini muffins for the boys. The last time you guys saw me make those, they absolutely love them. I thought I would go ahead and do that again. I made a double batch of chocolate this time, and you guys will see how that ends up here soon. In this little orange pan, I've just got a cup of sugar and a cup of water, and I'm going to make what they call a simple syrup. You just bring it to a boil till the sugar completely dissolves. Mine looks a little darker because I do use the organic raw sugar, but this goes in the gallon of sweet tea that I make for my boys. My husband and I don't drink it, but my boys do, so each pitcher gets 1 batch of this simple syrup. As you guys have seen in previous Set Yourself Up for Success videos, we try not to waste anything in this household. So when my son has sodium-free bread left over, I cut it up and use it to make homemade croutons, which are a huge hit in our family with all of our kiddos, and we cannot go back to store-bought croutons after this. We love these so much. I season them with pepper, garlic, onion, rosemary, and thyme. Some olive oil, toss them around, and they go on a cookie sheet and in the oven for 10 to 12 minutes. Here are those freshly baked croutons fresh out of the oven. They turn out this delicious golden brown every single time. Now it's time to make batch number 1. Yes, you heard me. Batch number 1 of bread dough for this week. You will see in the video here, I am using 1 batch to make homemade hamburger buns for my son, because as a meal prep, he asked for some of those hamburger patties that you guys saw in last week's Set Yourself Up for Success video. And so I'm going to make 1 batch of hamburger buns for him, and then I'm going to make my usual loaf of bread for him. Just as a side note, they turned out amazing. I got this special pan. It is a USA pan, just like my bread pans, that the buns go in, and it worked perfectly. I just wanted to give everybody a friendly little reminder that I do have a bread machine and I bake bread every week. You do not need a bread machine to make delicious homemade bread for your family, and it is such a relief to be able to do this for my son since he can't have store-bought bread. And I tried to capture the scoop and level method for you guys again, and again my camera skills are completely lacking. But again, you just want to scoop with a spoon into the cup and level off with a knife without tapping it down at all. And I'm going to get the yeast and the sugar into this flour. I always make a little tiny well in the middle of the flour for the yeast and get this into the bread machine. The next thing on the list is my son's very low sodium tuna salad for his sandwiches. So you guys have seen me make this before. If you haven't seen this in the video, I will go ahead and link it above. I do use a food scale to measure everything out just to make sure that I can get an accurate sodium count for him. And this is absolutely one of his favorites. What you see me doing here is this was what little bit was left of the last batch of homemade croutons. I'm just going through and separating out the actual chunks that are left of croutons, and then I'm going to throw the new ones into a Ziploc bag, and then I save all of the little crummies, the little bits and pieces in that canister, and those will be used for breadcrumbs in the next time that I make Parmesan crusted chicken. So I have sodium-free breadcrumbs and sodium-free croutons, which are perfect for my family. That first batch of bread is ready out of the bread machine. We're going to get it into this pretty blue bowl, get some cling wrap on it, and get it in the microwave so it can rise. Don't you just love the magic of sped up video? That dough is ready to be punched down, which is absolutely one of my favorite parts. You guys know I love that. What I'm going to do next is get this dough out, get it onto a floured surface, and get it divvied up into those 6 little cups over there to make those hamburger buns for my son. A little side note, I should never have tried to do the math to figure out exactly how much 850 grams of dough was divided by 6. I messed it up, and that's why you guys see me have to go back and do it again. It was a true what was mommy thinking moment. I have them all the time, y'all. While those hamburger buns were getting their second rise on in that special little pan, I went ahead and put the second batch of dough in the bread machine and took a break and had a bite of lunch. That dough is out. I'm going to get it in this glass bowl. This will be the dough that's turned into his regular loaf of bread for the week. And there they are. Those beautiful little buns are going to get a light basting with some melted butter, and they're going to go into the oven for about 20 to 25 minutes. And then we'll take them out and put another little bit of butter on the top to keep that crust nice and tender and soft. And then we'll get the next loaf ready to go in. But between the two, we're going to do something super yummy that y'all have never seen me make before. We're going to make banana nut bread. Yummy. This banana bread is super simple, and before we get too far into it, I've got to get some melted butter on top of these hamburger buns. And I didn't realize until I started editing this, I actually forgot to put butter on one of them, but I swear it turns out just fine. It's no problem. This recipe is just like your typical banana bread recipe. You want to get all of your wet ingredients into a bowl. That's your butter, your sugar, your eggs, and your mashed bananas. And then we're going to do the scoop method again. and add in our dry ingredients. If you don't have sodium restrictions, you will add salt, but you won't see that here. I'm gonna do the flour, and then the baking powder that I use, I show you guys, is the Hain. It's gluten-free and sodium-free, and it makes a huge difference in the sodium content of any of the stuff that I bake. And then we're going to add in the vanilla and some cinnamon and get this nice and mixed up. And I have a special little trick that I like to do after I get everything done, the nuts folded in, and get it into the pans. I like to sprinkle cinnamon sugar on the top of my banana nut bread, and my kids love it. I mean, who doesn't love cinnamon toast, right? So it's basically the same principle, but on a banana bread. How can you go wrong? My little handheld mixer had a rough time keeping up with this batter. I probably should have used my stand mixer, but mine has really been acting up. And I wanted to ask you guys, if you have a KitchenAid stand mixer, have you ever had any problems with it, specifically where it starts to skip a spot on the rotation, like it'll go and then it'll stop and you have to nudge it and it'll go again? Is anybody else having that problem, or is it just me? I do know that I've put it through a serious amount of work, but I was hoping it would last me a lot longer. If I have to replace it, guys, it is way down the road because those are expensive, and my next one will probably be a Bosch. You did see me, by the way, go ahead and grease the glass pan that I'm going to do the large loaf in with a little bit of Crisco. And the 4 small mini loaves that I do are in a silicone mold, so they don't need to be greased at all, but you can spray the mold if you want to. Now that we've got all the batter into the different pans, it is time to get that delicious cinnamon sugar out and sprinkle it on the top. I will warn you that if you do this to your banana nut bread, it will change the color of the top of it. It's going to make it a little bit darker, and it'll make it a little bit crunchier than normal as well. Here are those delicious hamburger buns that just came out nice and hot. So we're going to get that nice thin layer of melted butter on top of them to keep the tops of them nice and soft, and then we'll get them over here to cool. Oh my goodness, would you look at that? It's time to shift our attention over to that second batch of bread dough and get it out onto the floured surface and get all the air out of it and roll it out into the right shape and get it into the pan and cover it up so it can come to that second rise so we can bake it up. If you watched last week's video on setting yourself up for success for the week, I showed you how I divvy up one of these big, huge packs of ground beef from Sam's Club and use it for multiple purposes. One of the things that I made was I had a little bit of ground beef left over, and I made these 3 burger patties with some sodium-free French fry seasoning mix that I make myself, and my family went crazy for them. So my oldest son asked if I would please meal prep some of those to have in the refrigerator this week for his lunches because he really liked them. So that's why there's hamburger buns, and that's why I'm standing here making hamburger patties to be cooked in the electric skillet. Just as a side note, everybody, I thank you so much for all of your feedback. We did pick a new electric skillet and did order it, and it is the same brand. It is a Presto, and I will debut it in a future video. So to the ground beef, I added some freshly chopped onion, a good healthy amount of that sodium-free French fry seasoning, and a little bit of low sodium Worcestershire sauce, and that's it. I think we left out anything else because most everything we wanted was already included in the fry seasoning, and they turned out delicious. To patty these out and to keep them as uniform as possible, I use a measuring cup to scoop out. You can do a quarter cup, a half a cup, a third of a cup. You can do whatever size fits your family. And then when I patty them out, I try to make sure that the edges are a little bit thicker than the center, just so that the edges don't cook faster and dry out, and then the center not be done enough. I learned that trick from Rachel Ray. In addition to those delicious burgers that we were able to get several of, the next thing I'm going to meal prep out of that big roll of ground beef is I'm going to make a 4-pound batch of meatloaf. Yes, I know that sounds insane, right? But you'll see here at the end that I'm going to divide it up 2 pounds in each gallon Ziploc bag. So there's one for now and there's one for later. The recipe that I use is Paula Deen's Basic Meatloaf, and I've adapted it to meet the requirements that my family has. And so all you're going to see me do here is chop up my onions and my bell pepper, get my gluten-free oatmeal, and all the other ingredients added in, and get this meatloaf ready to go in the bags. In this meatloaf, you've just got your ground beef. We put black pepper. The recipe does call for salt, which of course we don't use. Your onion, your bell pepper, an egg, per pound, so we put in 4, some diced tomatoes, and some quick cooking oats. Now, when you do make this, there is a topping that goes on it that's got ketchup and brown sugar and yellow mustard in it, and that is optional. You can leave it off if you would like. That's another little handy tip I learned from watching Rachel Ray way back in the day, is that when you've got burgers or any kind of meat in a bowl like that, that you can just kind of pack it down in there and draw your lines and divvy it out. So I divided mine in half. I'm going to get it into 2-gallon Ziploc bags, and then it's really, really important that any surface that you use, that you have meat on or anything like that, that you clean it properly. I use super hot water and Dawn dish soap, same thing we wash our dishes with, and I go over it a couple of times and make sure it's nice and clean and safe, because I do use my stovetop as a work surface a lot. That second batch of dough that we put in the bread pan is now ready to go into the oven. It has done its second rise. I'm just going to go ahead and baste the top of it with a little bit of melted butter so that it browns up and just comes out beautifully, and then we'll get this into the oven for 35 minutes. I do put an aluminum foil tent on mine after about 20 minutes, just so the crust doesn't get overdone on the top. These are those mini loaves from the banana nut bread, and they turned out perfectly moist inside with that nice crust on the outside. This is the larger banana nut bread. I love how the top of these turn out with that perfect little crack down the middle. It's just so pretty. Here's a super quick look at those burgers that we pattied out earlier. They were cooked in the electric skillet and turned out really, really nice. I've got to now take the last couple of pounds from that big roll of ground beef and get it into a skillet. I'm just going to get it browned up and put it into a glass container to store overnight, because tomorrow I'm going to use it in a recipe for stuffing that goes in my homemade pasta shells. You don't want to miss that. That's actually going to be the cook with me video for tomorrow, Tuesday, and it's going to be something you don't want to miss. So we're going to get this ground beef browned up and in a pan, not in a pan, in a glass bowl to cool so that we can get it in the fridge for tonight. I wanted to give you guys a glimpse at some of the things that I got done on day one, which were these delicious burger patties. We ended up getting 12 or 13 of those. I can't remember exactly how many. Then is my son's regular loaf of sandwich bread, the large banana nut bread, the mini loaves of banana nut bread, and then was also able to get the hamburger buns done. And if you look at this plate, this used to have 36 mini chocolate muffins on it, and at 7 o'clock in the evening, then there were 2. So here's the aftermath. My floors are disgusting, but that's okay because tomorrow is cleaning day. And we had a little bit of garlic knots left from dinner. I gotta take care of that oatmeal. We have yummy, delicious sodium-free bread, banana bread mini loaves, sodium-free hamburger buns, a pile of clean dishes to be put away. And you guys, I got these awesome gallon jugs for my oldest son and my husband. They are trying to drink a gallon of water a day. I got these things on Amazon for maybe $8 or so. If you guys are looking for something, I recommend them. They're pretty cool. So that's it. We're going to take this list over to the chair, go over the 4 things that I did not get done. Here, I'll take you guys around there. Move that aside. Yes, that's my wedding rings. I took them off for all that meatloaf action. So as you can see, I've got some fajita bowls to make, the Valentine's Day cake for tomorrow, the inside stuffing for the homemade pasta shells, and cabbage roll soup. So that ground beef you saw me browning, that's what that's for. And other than that, I'm going to take this ridiculously unhealthy Coke Zero, and it's a lot, and I'm gonna go sit down and I'm gonna enjoy it and play with that thing over there. So thanks for watching this part. We'll get to the cleaning next. Good Sunday morning to you. We're going to pick up today right where we left off yesterday. When we closed out last night, I had 4 things left on my list that I needed to make today, so we're going to get at them. First thing that we're going to make is cabbage roll soup. This is a recipe that I have never tried before, so I'm looking really forward to it. And I've already pre-chopped my carrots and my onions. Guys, this little slicer dicer thing is awesome. I got it at, where did I get it? Amazon or Walmart? I think I got it on Amazon. I'm not sure. but it was less than $15 and it does a beautiful job. Right now I'm just sauteing up my onions and my garlic in this stock pot, and then I've got 2 pounds of that ground beef that you guys saw me brown and package up. I think it was last weekend on my meal prep and setup for the week video. So I'm just going to get that in there, give it a good stir around, and it literally is just putting everything else in. So there is 2 cans of tomato sauce. I only had one, so I did 1 puree, 1 sauce. Mine, of course, are all no salt added. I did double this recipe because, of course, we like to freeze some. And it's got 8 cups of cabbage and 8 cups of beef broth. Then it's got 2 cups of carrots, 2 cups of onions, some bay leaves, some brown sugar, and a little bit of parsley, and garlic and onions that you saw there in the base were browned, and everything just goes in the pot. Then you bring it up to a simmer, put the lid on, and let it go for 25 minutes. And the entire family, I really wasn't expecting the boys to like this at all, but the entire family loved this soup. So this will become a family staple for us, and we will definitely be making it again. What you see here is the final product of the cabbage roll soup. Once it is completely simmered and cooked all the way through, we're just going to push this over to the side and let it cool a little bit so we can get it in those containers and ready for the refrigerator. So next on the list was the stuffing for inside of my homemade stuffed pasta shells. This is my mom's recipe. This is an old family recipe, and it is incredible. My boys go absolutely bananas over it, and the stuffing part of it freezes perfectly in the containers. I'm doing a full cook with me on this recipe. It will post tomorrow on Tuesday. That is my normal cook with me posting day. You don't want to miss it. This recipe is exceptional. I actually had a fellow YouTuber who had requested that I do this as a cook with me. So Kat, that recipe will post for you tomorrow, and it means so much to me that you picked something out that you wanted to cook with me filmed for. All right, 2 down, 2 to go. The next one is the easiest of the 4, and that's just to make my boys a Valentine's Day cake, right? So everybody needs chocolate on Valentine's Day, and that's what you're gonna see me make here. I'm gonna make a very simple chocolate cake. I'm gonna put chocolate frosting on it, and then I'm gonna douse it in little tiny candy heart sprinkles. This was a huge hit with the boys, and it just made my heart happy to see how excited they got. Last but not least is lunch prep for my husband and I for the week. Full disclosure, I had every intention of making the Frontera chicken fajita bowls again because we absolutely love them. However, I was able to get shrimp on sale for a ridiculously good price at Kroger, and I had those beautiful flat iron steaks in the freezer that we bought back when they were on a super good sale, and I decided that we were going to splurge this week and do shrimp and steak Frontera fajita bowls. So that is what we did, and of course we taste tested them at the end, and they were delicious. I'm so excited to have these for lunch this week. And last time I made these on video, I told you guys that I really wish that I had added mushrooms. So guess what? Those shrooms are in there today. So this came out beautifully. We got, I want to say 10 lunches out of it because we used smaller portions to stay within our points for Weight Watchers. We use smaller portions, and we will be having it with cauliflower rice, and I'm so excited. Time to take that beautiful cake out and get it on a cooling rack. It smells amazing, but my husband and I will not be partaking. While that cake is cooling, I gotta jump back over and keep working on these fajitas. I'm on my second batch of veggies. You can see my 2 packs of fajita sauce there in the back. As soon as I get these veggies done, it'll be time to start on the shrimp and the steak. Here's a peek at that flat iron steak that I mentioned before. When we found it on sale at Kroger for $4.99 a pound, that was a crazy good deal. You can use this in so many things. We use it for sheet pan fajitas, beef fried rice, Mongolian beef, steak tips, garlic steak tips, anything like that that you want to use it for. It is so tender and so delicious that we just couldn't beat that price, because that even beats when we find sale prices on like skirt and flank steak. This was still a better deal, and it is so yummy, and we stocked up. Now that we've got that skillet sauce where we need it and the last batch of steak just browning, I'm going to go ahead and use tongs to get all of this over into the Frontera sauce. I use tongs or a slotted spatula just so that I don't get all of that juice in there, because everything that's already cooked, I want it completely coated in that fajita sauce. Here is my very, very pretty homemade chocolate cake for the boys for Valentine's Day. I hope you all had an amazing Valentine's Day and a great weekend with all the people that you love and hold so dear. I want to tell you how much I appreciate you sticking with me through this very long video, and I will see you in the next video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.